No niin, tervetuloa taas. Vielä kiritään iltapäivää aiheella täällä Digitalisaatio-asiakaskokemustrackillä. Aiheena siis AI ja automaatio nyt iltapäivästä. Toivottavasti tähän asti ohjelma on ollut niin hyvää, että meidän 3 pääfania ovat saaneet lisäjoukkoja ja fanijoukkomme koko ajan vahvistuu entisestään. Täällä jatkuu show studiolla niin, että meillä on saatu tänne Elisan tutkimusjohtaja Nidhi Singh. Ja ennen Elisaa Nidhi on työskennellyt monissa R&D-johtajatehtävissä maailmanluokan yrityksissä nimenomaan AI:n tekoälyn saralla. Nidhi on myös hyvin tunnettu asiantuntija tällä osa-alueella ja ne, jotka teistä ovat tutkineet artikkeleja tai tutkimuksia tältä osa-alueelta, niin varmasti ovat saattaneet törmätä siihen, että Nidhin nimi siellä julkaisujen ja konferenssien arvioijana on saattanut vilahtaa. Eli näin hienoa asiantuntemusta täällä meillä studiossa paikalla. So, welcome Nidhi.
Thanks Katja, thanks for having me today.
Was it storm outside? Because we cannot see anything here in the studio.
There was a storm for sure, but that was last night, I hope.
Okay. Well, hey, let's start. In your opinion, what are the most hot topics when it comes to IT and AI services?
When we say AI, let's first begin with when we say AI, what do we mean exactly, right? So we hear different concepts and different jargon today, like machine learning, deep learning, vision, NLP, NLU, everything. So these are different concepts that we hear today. It's important to understand that when we say AI, we mean all of these technologies taken together. They all fall under the big umbrella of AI. And when we say hot topics in AI, I would interpret it as, what are the most, how can these different technologies bring a paradigm shift in IT services, right? So one thing that's clearly, I can see very clearly is that there will be a large-scale end-to-end automation that will be driven by AI technologies in IT services. When I say end-to-end automation, what I really mean is without any human touch, without any human intervention. So in other words, put simply, most of the IT processes that we see today, processes will be automated by AI technologies in one way or the other. Now, why do I say that? So think about it. So why do we need human intervention in IT processes? There are 2 reasons. One is for customer interaction, right? So to ask the consumer to customer about the information, some information or some questions, what his problem is and so on. And second reason why we need human intervention in processes is to resolve the request, to enter something in database or to grant him some access, right? So these are 2 main reasons why we need human intervention as of today, right? Now, there's a field in AI that is conversational AI, which is getting it's seeing exponential growth in the last few years. And it will continue to be like that. So conversational AI is about teaching computers or robots or whatever you want to call them, how to converse with humans just like we do, right? And it's getting so much better in different languages that it'll not be a surprise at all for it to take over this human interaction part from IT processes away. So we'll not need human intervention for customer interaction in the future. I'm not talking 10 years, I'm talking 2 years, 2 years from now. And about the other part that we need human intervention for, that is for resolving the request. Now, if we just think a little bit deeply about it, in the end, that activity boils down to clicking here and there on different software systems or typing something in the database or something else, right? So just mouse click here and there, or it's typing. Now, if it is well documented how to navigate the system for resolving this incident, then RP can do a better job, just as good as humans do. So these 2 things, these 2 big components of IT process will be taken over by AI, and that will result in large-scale automation, end-to-end automation. So in short, to answer your question, I see conversational AI as a big trend in IT services from AI perspective, and RPA will take the lead also. We'll see more and more of RPA going forward.
Okay, interesting. Well, we have all most likely heard the story about self-driving cars, and that has been the myth or the hype of AI for a really long time, maybe not today anymore. But when it comes to IT services, do you see some kind of self-driving cars kind of myths or hypes that we should be cautious of?
Not really a myth, but let's say a misconception that people typically have in IT services is that, okay, I have lots of data, let's say from servers or from workstations, and hence we expect that AI would do remarkably well, job of automation IT services. But what we should take into consideration is not just the amount of data, but how much of data is AI-ready data, right? By AI-ready data, I mean the data has to be transformed and processed in a way that it's ready to be fed to AI systems. Otherwise, if you give just any data point to AI system, it'll just ignore it. It'll not even use it. So maybe only 10% of data that we have is AI ready, right? So we should take into account what percentage of data set is AI ready and then expect accordingly.
Okay.
And not just, okay, I have lots of data. One more thing that I typically recommend for, not for IT services, but for everyone probably, is that we often think that AI automation is a project. It'll finish in 6 months, 1 year, and so on. We often forget or are unaware of the fact that it has a very long maintenance phase. So you have to give AI system fresh data every now and then for its lifetime.
Like feed it.
Like feed it data, yes. It's like watering a plant, all right?
Yeah.
So if you are watering a plant, it's flowering, it does not mean you'll stop giving the water. You have to give the water as long as you want to see the flowers. So AI systems will decay in performance if we do not give it fresh data. So that maintenance cost or maintenance phase must be taken into account when we see, let's say, plan for a project or the cost or our budget allocation and so on. So it's something that I've seen most people forgetting about it. And then it comes as a surprise.
Okay. Actually, that is a good point, because my next question is that I guess it's obvious that use of AI will increase, it will be faster and faster and so on. What do you think, what will be the main challenges in doing that?
To be very honest about it, I do not see any technology-based challenges at all. AI will grow, it'll become more mature, it'll be more applied and so on. Engineering will grow as well. But it's more people-oriented challenge that I see, all right? So for AI automation projects to be successful in any sector, not just IT services, AI has to have a handshake with domain experts, all right? That's how it starts. And I have seen in many companies that domain experts most of the times have a fear at the back of the mind that, will I lose my job after this automation thing is over? And that fear at the back of the mind is often not acknowledged at all right? But that leads to a delay in the projects because they're not proactive about automation projects. They don't contribute so well as they can actually, right? And that's what handshake does not happen between AI and domain experts, and hence the projects go really slow if they go at all. What can be done in 6 months takes 2 years sometimes, or maybe more, depends. But this fear that I'll lose my job is a very practical one and a very widespread one in real life.
Yeah.
So that is, I would say, is a main challenge that we should address before a project starts and not just ignore it.
Yeah.
It's not to be ignored.
Yes. So in one way, you should be aware of the change process behind all of this and actually understand that if people are afraid, they actually are not that optimal for the change.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, hello, audience. Are you still awake? Because we have a question for you now. It will be seen on the screen, and it goes like this. What would be your reaction if you had a problem with your laptop? You would need to go to help desk, and there would be a chatbot instead of real person taking your request. What would be your reaction? Meanwhile, the audience is answering. From your experience, what would be...
I developed those systems, so I'm biased, right? So I'm going to say, good job, robot. So that's what I will say. So I'll be satisfied in option one, happy and satisfied.
Yeah, but are you the only one?
I think most of the people who are AI professionals will be happy to see that. But I've also seen people who are anxious. I think many of my friends might be anxious to see that happen, that, oh, now robots are doing that good a job, what's next for them? So they have this kind of anxiety about robots and AI. I've seen that too.
Yeah, I have been wondering, when will the robots be so smart and well made that I don't even recognize the difference in between?
They're already here, that much smart. It depends on the language, which language talk about. So probably for English, it's already that good. But typically longer the interaction and more complicated the interaction, lesser efficient the robot is. So if you want to test if it's a robot or not, keep asking questions. At some point, it'll show that it's a robot.
Yeah, I can see that some of the audience are still a bit challenging themselves and still answering. So there's really interesting to see how the numbers go. It seems like that the anxious now change again. This is like in the formulas, who's winning. So it seems that anxious, uneasy would be the first option for the audience.
And it's understandable.
Does that surprise you?
No, it's understandable.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
Yeah.
So uneasy because probably, robots are that good now?
Yeah.
So, and what's next for the robot?
Yeah, I don't know what the surprised means. Is it positive or negative?
It's just, wow.
Yeah.
That you didn't expect this to happen, and it happened.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, let's go to the next question. That will be, are jobs at risk in the near future because of more and more AI and automation? Please, audience, respond. Meanwhile, question to you, Nidhi. From your opinion, what are the roles or the tasks that won't disappear?
So, on a very abstract level, all the jobs or roles, tasks that require creativity, some kind of innovation, or new thinking, they are something that will stay almost forever with humans. Okay, we don't see robots to develop that kind of intelligence that can create new things or innovate in a totally different way, right? So in IT services, for example, process design, right? So designing a process is something that only humans can do better. And also, I would recommend not to use AI for decision making because it's very easy for AI systems to get biased. And it's highly difficult to make an unbiased, completely unbiased AI system. So for decision making, I would say those jobs should also stay with humans and not really be given to AI, even though we can, in principle we can. But those experiments have gone wrong in different parts of the world with different sectors. So decision making roles should be with humans all the time.
Yeah, even the AI, I guess, easiest that part also.
Sure, AI should be able to recommend, but not decide. Decision should be with the human all the time. But AI let AI give informed recommendation, let's say, but not the decision.
Okay, let's see. Do we have the answers ready? So it seems that, I don't know how much did your talks influence on the answers, but not really says almost 80% of the audience.
Great job.
We have a nice future in front of us.
Free of anxiety.
Yeah, super good. Hey, now we have questions from audience.
Sure.
Let's see. The first one, what are the things for which we will always need human help or intervention?
Yep. So as I said, things that involve creativity or innovation, like design of a process or design of anything, for example, the design involves a lot of creativity on human side. So those jobs are always with the humans. And again, decision-making kind of roles, those also should be with the humans. And anything that involves, let's say, emotional factor, right? So we cannot rely on AI for having the emotions. They don't have the emotions. So all those kind of roles that require some kind of connection with a human on an emotional level, then those jobs also, but they're mostly in the healthcare, for example, for nursing and everything. So those jobs also would always be with the human.
Yeah.
And we don't need really AI help for that.
Well, there are a lot of questions about roles and tasks that can be taken care of by AI, and which one that are not. What about when it comes to, well, maybe this is more like a comment. Aaro from the line is saying that we use AI for many internal process tasks. It really helps our people to focus more on complex tasks.
Yes.
Do you share this?
Yes, that's the idea. That's a whole motivation for using AI. So all the boring, repeated, monotonous jobs should be taken away, and people should be given more interesting and complex tasks that humans are capable of doing. So that's the whole idea.
Yeah. Thanks, Nidhi. Stay there. We are going to have our next guests in here. So thank you, Nidhi.
Thanks, Katja.